I've been getting a lot of comments about my latest video about Deputy Ben Fields, and a lot of people disagree with my position, but there's a reason why I came to that position. Again, I have family members who work in education, and they have worked with dysfunctional children. From my female family member works with children who are young, and my older family member teaches in a college and works with older people. And I myself have worked in the Strive Job Readiness Program. And then now the Strive Job Readiness Program was a program that dealt with ex-offenders, single mothers, homeless people, and virtually unemployable people, the hardest of hard cases. And during my time with the AmeriCorps Vista program, I learned a lot about how these dysfunctional people operate. I learned about how they think. I learned their approaches, and I learned a lot about their methodology. And when I say that this teacher lost control of that classroom, I'm coming from my experience working at that job readiness program with those hard cases. And you have to understand the mindset of this hood rat. Now, some people will say, "Oh, I didn't say anything about that hood rat in the previous video." Well, that's because I'm going to talk about her approaches and her methodology in this video. You see, you have to understand that your hood rat or your dysfunctional person, what they want to do is get you to lose control. The only way to deal with this type of person is to have a good sense of self, good control over your emotions, and self-discipline. You see, this hood rat is a master manipulator. They play mind games, and when you deal with this type of person, their whole game is to get you emotional, get you upset, and get you flying off the handle. That's why I say this teacher lost control of the classroom. This girl used his cell phone to push this guy's buttons. This man got upset. He continued to escalate things instead of using a tactic that I learned at the Strive Job Readiness program. How to deal with this person. Just a simple phrase. Something like, whenever she gets tired of texting, we can get back to class. And this was something that people at the Strive program would do. We would say something like that. The class would stop. People would start taking a look at this person, and eventually, the shame of being embarrassed would be enough, to make them shut down, and realize that the behavior was out of line. Now that's a simple tactic that this guy could have used, but instead, you know, he was trying to follow a protocol, trying to deal with this female, and it didn't work. That was one of the things he could have used. Another thing he could have used was just been, to do what many other public school teachers do, is ignore this female and, write them off. There's nothing much you can do with this type of person. Instead, this person lost control of their emotions. They allowed this female to take control of the classroom. And you have to understand, that's what I mentioned previously. These hood rats love to get control over you because what happens is they get you to lose control over your emotions, and then when you lose control over your emotions, they start getting you to react to them instead of responding to them. This is why I say this teacher lost control of this classroom, because you have to control the child, and you have to control the situation. That was something I learned again at the Strive Job Readiness Program, where we dealt with these types of dysfunctional individuals on a regular basis, and in many cases, we would get them to shut down. It would never escalate to that point where we had to go get security, to get this person tossed out. If anything, at the most extreme, the trainer would take the person out, or they would be referred to the social service office. It would never, get to that point, because if it got that far, it was far beyond, anybody's ability to deal with. But when we look at this female, when I look at this female from my, year of training at Strive, I clearly see, again, this teacher lost control over the individual, and they were dictating it, pretty much. She was escalating things, seeing how far she could go, and after this teacher lost control over her, he brought in the advice, the principal. The principal comes in, tries to, assert authority. She shows she has no respect for authority. Then they bring in Ben Fields, and, we get what we saw on those videotapes. And if we see, if from what I've been reading and hearing, she's telling people, get your cameras out. Again, showing how she has taken control over the entire classroom, controlling everything. And this is something that many Negroes, they can't process and understand, that this female had taken complete control over everything. And it all has to do with this teacher's ineffective ability, to manage this classroom and understand that there was a simple solution to this. It's just simple psychology. Because when you deal with this hood rat, this is what they try to do. They try to play psychological warfare with you. And if you're not of a strong will or a strong mind and you don't understand their tactics, you're going to fall for it, and you're going to start getting emotional, and then you're going to start escalating things, because that's what the hood rat wants you to do, to escalate things, to get extra emotional, and then get to the point where you eventually explode, because this is how they manipulate people. And if you look at this female's pattern, it fits right in the pattern of other dysfunctional females, such as your Shadia Lane a couple of years ago, who got on the bus and decided she wasn't going to pay the fare. So Artis Hughes, instead of him just, letting it go, or using again the psychological tactic of saying the bus is not moving until this woman decides not to pay the fare, or, just like some drivers do, just passively let her go, you know, he decides to engage this woman. And as he engages this woman, she pushes his buttons, agitates him, gets him emotional. She then spits in the man's face after, arguing with this man, gets him to jump out of his seat to assault her. And at the end of the day, just like your Eric Feilds, Artis Hughes lost his job. Another case regarding these hood rats is your Rayon McIntosh. Now, a lot of people don't remember Rayon McIntosh from 2008, West Indian guy. He's working in McDonald's after coming out of prison, and these two hood rats come in with this counterfeit $50 bill to buy food at McDonald's. And when the manager, comes in and goes to scrutinize the money, they then decide to assault Mr. McIntosh. And then they jump over the counter. Mr. McIntosh, to defend himself, takes a grill scraper and beats the living crap out of them. But at the end of the day, Mr. McIntosh loses his job and is forced to sit in Rikers Island for several months. And, just for defending himself, from these crazy women. And the whole thing is that, again, these females use their tactics, their emotions, to manipulate the situation, get people emotional, and then when people defend themselves, they then turn themselves into victims. This is the same thing that happened with this hood rat in this situation at this school with Officer Ben Feilds. She then, after doing all of this stuff, then decides to turn herself into a victim and, manipulated all these men who just did not understand, the game. I mean, a lot of these solutions are very simple, like in the case of Rayon McIntosh. The policy at McDonald's was plain and simple. They don't take bills over $20. But this guy decides to take this 50, I guess, because a lot of rich white people come in, and these hood rats know this. But the policy at McDonald's is simple. They don't take bills over $20. And what they should have done is say, look, we don't take bills over $20. I'm sorry, we can't serve you. That would have been the end of it. And in the case of Artis Hughes, all he had to do was, move the bus aside, and then call in the police, and that would have been the end of that. But because these females love to play to people's emotions, what happens is these guys give in, the female controls the situation, the men attack them in self-defense, then the men are blamed as victims, they're blamed as, brutes, and then, they wind up losing their jobs, and the female goes on to win herself a nice cash settlement at the end of the day, and she is seen as a victim. You see, the females in these cases oftentimes know how to manipulate situations to their benefit. And this is why I say, you have to remain in control when you engage, dysfunctional females like this. As a professional, you have to understand the protocol for dealing with them, because they're going to try to get you to react in an emotional way so that they can take control of the situation and have you acting in an insane way. You see, at the end of the day, you have to look out for your job and your safety. This hood rat is going to be taken care of in 3 or 4 ways. 1, by your welfare department. 2, by these simps out here. 3, by a cash settlement from getting into an assault with you, and for by the job that they have streams of income coming in all the time, and you as a civil service employee, or a person with a job, you have to look out for yourself. And this is why I say, you know, when you're in these type of situations, you have to put yourself first. Oftentimes, you have to pick your battles. And this teacher in the classroom, he didn't understand about picking his battles. This hood rat, at the end of the day, was going to go on to the next class. Let her go on to the next class. She's not going to be your problem. This way, a guy like Eric Feilds, you can say what you want about him. Yes, he's a steroid case. Yes, he did use excessive force, but at the end of the day, this man wouldn't have lost his job if people understood the protocol for dealing with dysfunctional females like this. Now, some people will say, "Oh, you're giving them a pass, or you're just not dealing with them." But this is the only way you can deal with them. You, as a civil servant, have to look out for your employment. You have to look out for your safety, your own self, and taking care of yourself. Again, this female is going to be taken care of 3 or 4 ways. When you lose your job, this female will still be making money, and you will be unemployed, just like your Rayon McIntosh, just like your Artis Hughes, and just like, Deputy Ben Fields. You're going to get fired and be out of work. This female will still be back here, scavenging money out of these simps, out of the legal system, out of the welfare system, out of the white liberal government. And you have to think about self-preservation. When you're dealing with this dysfunctional female like this, or dysfunctional individuals like this, you have to look out for yourself. And self-preservation is the most important thing. If you can get this person out of your classroom in 45 minutes, you've done the right thing, because there is no teaching this person discipline, because they do not understand. They will never understand. They don't want to understand. It just won't process. And if you try to engage this person, all they're going to do is try to manipulate you so that they can get you emotional, get you riled up, and then eventually either get you fired or locked up. This is how these females operate. This is how these females even do their own boyfriends and husbands. This is what they do. They'll start pushing buttons, get this guy agitated, pick a fight with him. He'll defend himself. She'll run in a bathroom, call 911, say she's assaulted, get you taken out to jail. You'll get a felony on your record. You'll lose your job. You'll wind up unemployable. And this female, again, will still have an economic means to take care of herself through your welfare system, through neighborhood simps, through government programs, and all those benefits. Again, American economy takes care of these hood rats very well, feeds them, clothes them, cares for them. But you, as a man, have to look out for your own health, your own safety, and in many cases, it's just better to just let them go rather than to lose your livelihood, your fortune, your wealth, and your means of making income and caring for yourself than worrying about whatever little infractions these females do. Because these females, again, are enabled and supported by your government programs and cared for by your government programs. But you, as a man, have to put yourself first. You have to put your needs first. And you have to think, at the end of the day, is this worth it? Is this worth me putting my livelihood at risk? Is this worth me putting my employment at risk? Is this, infraction worth me losing my mind? Now, a lot of people will get upset about, that, but I understand, where a lot of teachers were coming from in the 1980s when they had to deal with savages just like this. And this is why they just said, look, I'm just going to get them in here and I'm going to get them out, and I'm going to work with those who really want to be worked with, and the rest of them, I'm just going to leave right where you find them, because some people, they just aren't worth, the headache. And if you don't understand how to work the system, you will get worked over by the system, like your Rayon McIntosh, like your Artis Hughes, and like your Ben Fields. They didn't understand that, at the end of this day, this female is still going to come out on top no matter what they did at the job. So it would be best to just let this female go on her way. And eventually, let some simp go deal with her, and you don't have to deal with, felony charges, losing your job, and unemployment, um, and trying to rebuild your reputation. You let her go deal with whatever happens to her. It's just not worth your time. And again, your time is precious here on this earth. Your, you know, time on a job is precious. And you have to look out for yourself, look out for your safety, look out for your, economic well being, because again, this female's economic well being is going to be taken care of for the next, I'd say, for the rest of her life. She will find some way of being cared for, but you as a man have to look out for your economic well-being, looking out for your house, and look out for your needs. Yes, these chicks pretty much deserve a beating, but let God deal with them. You look out for yourself. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.